Hi, and welcome to the second episode of Pixpro Labs Live Show. I am Sarah Watts, and I'm the CEO of Pixpro Labs, and I'm also the host of this show. My mission is to help Joomla businesses grow, and one of the most important elements in this mission is to host this live show. I am inviting people running businesses that provides Joomla extensions, templates, services, hosting, training. Yeah, you get it, right? I like to have a heartfelt conversation with them, an authentic conversation about business, about life, and of course, about Joomla. And the purpose is for us all to get to know the people behind the businesses better, behind the brand and behind the avatars, to understand their why they do what they do, and why they choose to do Joomla. I would like to get some insights of their business, how they get with their ups and downs. And through this conversation, I think that we all can tap into their expertise and their experience. I have already identified some areas that I would like to have this conversation around. And I have also got some questions from Joomlers before the show that I would like to incorporate into this conversation. But since this is a live show, I would like to feature your questions. So don't be shy. Start asking questions in the comments, and I will feature them in the show. And since it's a new format to do Facebook Live, both for me and the guest on the show, it would be really good to get some encouragement. And we would like to have some feedback. So use the emojis in this video. Use the heart button to give us some feedback on some energy. Give us some thumbs up if you get some insights that you like. Or use the angry emoji if you disapprove or you also are angry about the topic that we talk about. Feedback in any shape and form are all good. And also, most importantly, share the show. Share the show with others, because this is a new show. This is just the second episode, and we need to get some traction out there and get some conversation going about how to grow your business with Joomla. And you can do that during the live show or the replay, no matter what. And yeah, so no further ado, I would like to get my special guest up on the show. Let me introduce this episode's special guest, Joe Sonne from Joomla.
Hi, Sarah.
I've been honored to serve with you on the Open Source Matters board, and I've seen you talk about business and how to improve businesses at different Joomla events. So I'm really looking forward to have this conversation with you. So welcome again.
Thank you. Thank you.
So we talked a little bit about this before we started the show, that I know you, but I don't really know you. And I think that is a good conversation to start. Who are you? And please introduce yourself to the viewers of this broadcast.
Sure. So I'm Joe Sonne. I live here in Canada, and I do a business called Joe Sonne Marketing, and Joomla is our brand for websites and digital marketing. I got involved with Joomla in 2005 when they just changed their name to Joomla from the previous project, which was Mambo. I didn't know anything about Joomla at the time, and I was working for a large national nonprofit organization here in Canada as their director of communication. And they brought me on board to implement the large enterprise system for their organization. And someone in the community mentioned Joomla to me, and I wandered over to joomla.org, signed up on the forum, and started asking questions. And through that initial introduction to the world of Joomla, I met all kinds of incredible people with lots of passion and enthusiasm, and they helped me to learn how to create Joomla websites. So in the organization that I belong to, I implemented Joomla first as an intranet, which was fantastic because we could deploy an intranet, and all the different departments in the organization, when they came to work in the morning and they fired up their computer, the first thing they would do is they would go to their home page on the intranet, and each department would have a spot on the page to highlight what they were doing and what the important projects that they were working on. And this was fantastic because for the first time, the whole organization had an idea what all the other departments were involved in, and they became more collaborative. And then we started to create microsites on the public side for the organization. Joomla wasn't ready to replace the enterprise system by any means, but it was fantastic for getting websites up quickly and microsites, like you said, and we did all kinds of fantastic things. And lo and behold, after 6 years later, I went out on my own, and Joe Joomla was a business and Joe Sonne Marketing, and people started coming to me for help, and I've been doing that ever since.
Wow, that's a long story with Joomla, Joe.
It is. It's a good one too, and it's been an adventure to say the least.
So where in Canada do you live?
So I live in a city called Guelph in Ontario, which is approximately in the middle between Toronto and Niagara Falls. I'm about 1 hour west of Toronto. And so if people know Canada at all, Toronto's basically the financial district of Canada. And I'm about, say 5.5, 6 hours from the capital of Canada, which is Ottawa. And by the way, Canada just celebrated its 150th birthday this past July the 1st, this weekend. So we've been busy celebrating all weekend.
Oh, that's awesome. I have only been to Canada once, and that was for the World Conference last year for Joomla. But that was on the other side of Canada, not where you are.
It was far away. People have often have no idea how big Canada is. So for me to get to that World Conference in Vancouver was about a 5.5-hour flight across the country. Wow. So it's a long trip even for me to get there. It wasn't exactly local.
Exactly. So you said that you did this Joomla exploration and found out how Joomla could work in different shapes and forms for your business. Have you been volunteering for Joomla at all, except for being a part of the board? Can you explain more about kind of roles and place? Because you said before that you're not kind of a hardcore programmer, and a lot of people have that thought that you have to be a really good programmer to volunteer for Joomla.
Exactly, and you don't have to be. So Joomla is a wide variety of skills and profession. People, of course, who are developers who work with PHP and SQL and all those back-end resources are part of the project from a development point of view. But then there's people from the front end that Joomla also embraces. And when I say front end, that means that people who are marketing people, that's an area that I was involved in with the project for quite some time. And I also currently involved in the project as the capital team leader. So what that is the capital team is primarily focused on helping raise money for the project. So we deal with sponsors and people who are have affiliate programs with Joomla, and anybody that wants to support the project in a way that we can give them some return on investment by giving them exposure to the Joomla community. So the capital team is on the volunteer portal, and that is my main thing. And actually, when I got involved in Open Source Matters, I was actually voted into Open Source Matters for the sole purpose of getting involved with the sponsors. So my first involvement, and that's when I met you.
Yeah.
in Open Source Matters, and then spent I guess a couple of years in Open Source Matters, and then in a couple of different roles. And just before I left my role in Open Source Matters, I was the secretary of Open Source Matters. So I got to see a lot about how Joomla works as an organization, and it's exciting. So what I would say is that if you have any interest whatsoever associated with Joomla, if you're a designer, so you're great at doing graphics, or you're a writer, you're good with words, or you're just working with clients and you train them, anything that you do that's associated with the Joomla software in any way, shape, or form, there's a spot for you in the community, and it's a fantastic way to meet people from all around the world. And I have to warn you, once you get involved with the Joomla project, it's like the Hotel California. You can get in, but somehow you can never leave. But usually that's a good thing.
Yeah. And I'm going back to like first the sponsor part. Do you think that it would be good for a Joomla business to sponsor Joomla in any shape or form? Would that be good for their business?
I think so. If you are going to any of the larger Joomla events, you will see these vendors, you see these sponsors and partners at these especially, say, for example, the Joomla World Conference, and they will have a presence there. It's an obvious fit for this is hosting companies. They are dependent on people to put their websites on a server that they, sell those hosting services. So that's an obvious one. There's all kinds of people who create products for Joomla, page builders and extensions and just a variety of things, and you just need to go to one of these events and you will see some of these sponsors have been here a long time, and as you talk to them, they will tell you, yes, this is a great investment for their business to have exposure. When you come into the Joomla community as a brand new person, you go, where do I host my website? Well, all you have to do is ask somebody that's been in the community, and they will immediately fire off a couple of names of big hosting companies that pretty much specialize in Joomla optimized service. And there's no better place to put your Joomla website than with one of our sponsors.
So there is a difference in, like, from my point of view, we are an agency and we are an extension developer. So going to the World Conference, the packages might be too pricey for us to come and sponsor those kind of events. But then we figured out to go to maybe the smaller events or even the user groups to sponsor them is a good start to get exposure. So there's a lot of different ways for different companies to find their way of being a sponsor to the project, since like we said before, no one is paid in the project. So as a volunteer, everybody's bringing something, and we need to have capital into Joomla to pay for the expenses that it costs to run a business. And we talked about being on the board of Open Source Matters, but not everybody knows that Open Source Matters actually is the corporation, that's the entity that takes care of all the legal and financial entity organization things for Joomla. So Joomla needs to get some capital from somewhere, and sponsorship and partnership is really excellent. And as you said, hosting companies, but it can also be if you work with CEO, or if you work with something that is aligned with a website like security or something else, you can also be a good fit into sponsoring and meeting your users and your clients in a setting that it can help them to grow, and by using your services or your extensions or your product, you can also grow.
Absolutely.
So
and even as a client, somebody that has a business that they need to have a digital presence, to go to a Joomla event, either locally or a big event that would be an international event, is your opportunity to be able to meet all of the resources and the professions and the talent that you could possibly need to be able to get a professional online digital presence up and host it and find great people who can actually help you learn how to use Joomla and publish things, give you best practices, and guide you in marketing online. So you don't just have to be on the development side of things, you be on the customer side of things. At the Joomla World Conference in Vancouver, some of my clients who were close to that particular geographic location were at that event, and they learned a lot of things. They went to sessions that were suitable for them to help them be better at understanding how Joomla can help their businesses.
And I think that also if you're not sponsoring and maybe you're not speaking, you can still work the room by sitting next to someone you don't know and introduce yourself and exchange ideas and look at whatever projects you're working on and help each other out to get a bigger network globally, as you say. So I think that joining the events on user groups or the World Conference or the local Joomla days are excellent opportunities for you to reach out and meet new clients or meet new partners that can help you grow your business.
Absolutely.
So if you walk out from this part of the sponsorship and being part of the community, you also have been speaking on a lot of events too, to get some exposure for your business and sharing your expertise and knowledge.
Exactly. And, you know, that all came about as, it was never planned. It came about almost as an accident. So let me tell you how that happened. I bought a ticket to go to a big international event in Europe, and I thought I should just go. And I was actually talked into going by a couple of people from North America. Said, you should go over to the big European events and meet those people. They've heard about you, but no one has ever seen you. And I thought, okay, well, we'll do that. I bought the ticket, and I was just going to sit back and enjoy being there and meeting everybody that I've seen online, you know, on the different chat forums. And then I got an email that said, well, since you're coming all this way, why don't you prepare and submit to do a session at this event? And they went, oh, well, I never thought about that. And so I started writing, and they told me, and you have 2 days to get it in for the deadline. So I'm very furiously writing, you know, what I would present. And what happened was the persons that were encouraging me to go said, so I heard that they asked you to submit a paper to do a session. And I said, yes. And they said, well, what are you writing about? And I told them, and they said, oh, we're submitting a session on the exact same topic as you. Wow. And I went, oh no. So I had to scrap that idea. And what happened is I took a hard look at who I am and what do I offer this community. And I realized that there's no point in me competing against the developers, the people who know the back end, under the hood, the workings of Joomla. There are all kinds of people doing sessions on those things that will do them far better than I ever could. And I thought, what can I do? And that's when I decided to look at it from the front end, the marketing end, the customer relation end. So I submitted a session that was how to get A+ clients, because I had discovered that a lot of people who are trying to start businesses in the world of Joomla are winding up with less than great clients, people who are not appreciating what their skills are and what they're doing for them. And so I did a session, and the next thing I know, I was getting invited to do that same talk at different Joomla events here in North America. And
it's a needed topic though, right?
Absolutely, and I think that a lot of people who are starting businesses in Joomla, the one mistake that they make is they undervalue their worth because they're trying so hard to start a business or to build it up. They go in, and the next thing you know, they build a reputation for being a discounted kind of a business, and so now they're building all these incredible websites that are far worth what they got paid to do them for. And then they are intimidated when they're trying to get their proper worth. You know, the code for Joomla, if you were to go out and get some kind of proprietary product that can do all the things that Joomla does, you would pay an awful lot of money for it. And until Joomla came on the scene, businesses were spending many thousands and tens of thousands of dollars just to do a fraction of what Joomla would do. That enterprise system that I was working on was worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. So that when you can start offering people a product like Joomla, which has no licensing fee, and all they have to do is start working with it, and then all your financial investment is into content and things that you're putting into your website, that gives you a tremendous advantage. So anybody that has the expertise, that knows how to put this together, is very valuable. And so that's what I'm doing when I go to these events and talk about how to get A+ clients, because I really believe that people are looking for really great suppliers and vendors who know this stuff. And when they find them, that's a perfect fit. They'll treat them well. They'll get great service. You will be paid properly. And it's a partnership made in heaven, because people who do serious business have been used to paying properly for those services and products.
But isn't that a misconception, though? Because a lot of people say, okay, Joomla is free. Most of the extensions are not free, but at very low cost if you compare it to the more enterprise level CMSs out there. And you feel like, I cannot get paid as much as a consultant as the corporate licensing fees systems are. So in some kind of misconception, we undervalue us just because of Joomla being free. Instead of thinking, okay, if you have a budget of $100,000, instead of paying maybe $50,000 to licenses, we can do more with the $100,000 that you have and really get some attraction out there and a really good website, maybe with like an internet version or something else going on that you couldn't get for the same price as if you compare it if you paid a lot of license for it.
That's absolutely correct. And for a person that has knowledge of the product and how to make it work, what are the best kind for different functionality that extends Joomla, that all comes, somebody has to do all that research. And if you think about it, any profession that you buy their products or services of that are professional, accountants, lawyers, doctors, they all have to keep themselves current. They all have to stay knowledgeable about the changes in their industry. Well, it's no different with a product like Joomla. Joomla keeps getting better and better. It changes, and to keep up with those changes and know how to do things properly means you have to continue to educate yourself on how to do those things. Someone who has a broad area of expertise that can bring it all together is a very, very valuable person on your team. So my clients that use my services have a deep appreciation, because they're writing business based on the Joomla website. They're either getting lead generation, or they're selling products, or they're doing all kinds of incredible things that support their business strategy. By the website's just one part of your business, and when you know how to make it all work together, that's a really great thing.
So I think that the valuable lesson we can learn from you is to really think about what the value we bring when we put together as an agency a website for someone. What's the value and the outcome and the ROI that they are looking for? They're not just looking for a pretty website. They are looking for some business adventure with this, with some money coming in that will pay for your expenses, but also get some revenue out of it.
Absolutely. And you know that there are, you can only service a limited number of people yourself, right? So if you have a team like Pixpro would have your team of developers, you can only handle so many clients. But what if I, as a business, want your expertise and I'm saying, I want Sarah and, Pixpro to do my stuff, because I know I can trust them. They're good at what they do. I'm always going to get the best and the latest knowledge. I have to earn your business. It goes both ways. You earn the client's business, but you have to be good for the client has to be good for you as well too, because you only have so much capacity to manage them.
I remember I was sitting in your session with your A+ client at J & Beyond when you did that session. And I was just checking off because we also work with a system called Book Yourself Solid by Michael Port in one of our businesses to help service providers get booked solid. And one of the things that you talked about was, we call it the red carpet policy or the velvet rope policy, which means that we have some qualification questions that we ask our clients before they can enter our agency, because we want to know that we have the right value set, the right alignment to success later on in our project. So we don't just take anyone that says, hey, can you please work with us? We ask them some qualification questions to see that they are a good fit for us. And I think that was something that was like aha moment with me when you said it. I was like, yeah, good. More people think that way than we do. Because you were talking about exactly the same thing in one of your points.
Exactly. It has to be a win-win situation or someone's going to be unhappy. And if you have an unhappy party on either side, then you don't have a good situation. So, but when you have both parties that are enthusiastic about what they're doing in their relationship, it's just a relationship made in heaven. And that's what you should shoot for. Yeah,
because you are choosing your environment for the day in your office. If you have just someone that you can work as much as you can, but you can never satisfy them because they have other things that they want you to do, but you cannot provide it. Or there is a miscommunication going on because you're not talking, you may be talking like this instead of talking with each other. And then you get so much misconceptions that no one is getting pleased. That is not a good working environment for you. So it's like picking your teammates, but you're also picking your clients to have a good day at the office.
Absolutely. So we're in this for the long run. And the only way that you can be in it for the long run is if you're profitable. One of the things that I talk about is that there's better ways to go broke than working yourself to death. And if you have clients that are not paying you properly and you're going broke, why don't you just go sit on the beach with a nice beverage under the sun and enjoy yourself while you're going broke, rather than working yourself to death doing the same thing? That makes no sense at all.
Mm-hmm. So come to how do you attract these clients that you like to work with?
I've been very, very fortunate that most of the clients have come to me. And I think that's because you position your own business in such a way that you make yourself easy to be found. So, for example, I was contacted a few years ago by a company that had their headquarters in Toronto. But the individual that contacted me was in London, England, and he was the marketing manager for the entire company. And their company website, corporate site, was a Joomla site that had been built by another business, and they were no longer, the relationship was no longer a positive one. And so they were looking for local expertise in that area. And they found Joe Sonne and Joe Joomla to be physically situated just 1 hour west of their headquarters. And I was the Canadian expert, so to speak, and so this has happened a lot to me. Now, more recently, I've decided that, I should get more local business right where I live, because for the longest time, all these clients were coming from all different parts of the world, and they are far, far away from me. And
time zone wise too. So you have to maybe work off hours that is not like, what hours do you like to work?
Yeah, exactly. So more recently, I've been positioning my website and doing some very location-oriented advertising, so that you have to actually use in your search term the word Guelph or some of the other local cities that are right around my area. I'm situated in an interesting area. There's several cities that are clustered right around where I live. So Guelph is one, Kitchener is one, Waterloo is one, Cambridge is one, and these are all big markets of business. So I did some geolocation style marketing, and as soon as I did that.
Did you do Facebook or advertising on Google, or is it printed advertising?
I did it on Google. So I did AdSense advertising, and the first week that I put my campaign up, I wound up with a large local Guelph business who was looking for a Joomla expert. They didn't know I was here. And they were able to find me. I literally was contacted on a Monday, had a meeting with them on the Friday, and by the following week, we were doing business.
That's good. Good.
Yes. So
to limit yourself on the geographical area that you would like to serve.
Exactly. And, you know, I had been ignoring that, and because I was enjoying working with larger businesses that worked with me virtually, and they never had a problem with that, because we could do this sort of thing, video conferencing, you're on the telephone. Once they get to know you, email works. You know, there's a variety of ways that you can engage with them. And I would make a point of going and visiting them when I could. Some of them are, you know, a half a day away, or some of them you have to jump on an airplane to go see them. But it just depends on what the client is, and if it works, it works. So I think that you have to, in these days, pick who you are looking for, make yourself easily found by them, and where are those ideal clients that you want. Well, where do they hang out? Where do they go? You know, in the old days when we didn't have the internet, we used to have to go to social functions and network. And really,
don't do that anymore.
Well, we actually can do that locally, because there's all kinds of things that happen from social networking locally, and but online it's no different. You know, you're basically engaging as if you were going to a networking event, only you're doing it online. You just have to go to where your customers are going. Where are they going to find you? So and being involved with the Joomla community and having your name associated with the Joomla project is also an absolutely fantastic promotional item as well too. When people know that you've been involved with the Joomla project, especially at a professional level, they immediately have a sense of trust that you know what you're doing. And so that's another really good reason to be involved with the project. Exactly.
I think it's interesting also to see that, okay, you attract all these people, you have Google AdWords as your lead gen for traffic. When they come to your website, what do you want your visitors to do to capture them as leads?
So we talked about this before the show, that a few years ago, before I was really fine-tuning my skills in this area, I didn't have a focus on what I wanted to offer a customer. And a fellow at a Joomla user group meeting sat beside me and said, you know, I was on your website, I was on it for a whole hour and I still don't know what you do. And I thought, oh my goodness, that's terrible. I should know better than this. So what I do is I make sure that right up front, very, very quickly, that my main offerings and my main areas of expertise are easy to find, and that if the customer is looking for any of those things that I do as a core competency is what they're looking for, then I give them enough information so that they can engage in some kind of interaction. So I make sure that they can quickly contact me through the website with a call to action button, or they can phone, or they can email. So the idea is to give them, this is what we do, very quickly, right up front. Don't make them search for that. And then if they are interested, I give them an opportunity to get engaged. So I offer a first free consultation with a client, and when they click that button and fill that form out, they get an auto-responded bit of information that lets them know how to prepare for the consultation, what should they expect. And just that alone is fast-tracking the relationship into an area that is valuable for them. They can see right away that you have expertise in this area, and if we're talking the same language, it's obvious. If we're not, for example, if somebody clicked that button and said, oh my goodness, this is way over my head, I just want to do a little, hobby site, this is not for me. They know that very quickly. So it's a way of qualifying very quickly, and it's a way of them finding that information. So it's pretty straightforward now. I guarantee if you go to my website today, you don't have to spend an hour to figure out what it is that I do.
Well, I think that you have tons of information to read up on that will take an hour, yes, because it's really good value in your blog and everything else with your tips. So, but it's good that you don't have to look for it to understand what you do.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Good point. And I also like automation. So I'm really happy to see that you are working with auto responding messaging, because it's like you said, it makes life much easier than having do everything manually all the time.
Exactly. And this is a great area. And I think a lot of companies are looking for the same things that we're doing for ourselves. How do you engage your customers? How do you give them the information they're looking for? How do you find out what it is that they need? And yes, automated marketing is a fantastic way to do this.
So another question we got was from someone while we're talking about growing your business. We got a question that says, how is Joe looking at growing the business over the next 2 years? Do you like working a team? Do you work by yourself? How can you take on more clients? Can you raise your prices? What is your angle on this?
Well, this is a great question, and I actually employ strategy, business development that I have used almost in my entire professional career, even before the online business when I was in outside sales for different companies. The way that I go about getting business is I have a limited number of slots of who I'm going to do business with. And so you immediately fill up. Let's say, for example, you have the capacity to manage 10 good clients. Now, in the beginning, when you're starting out, you can get 10 clients very easily, and they may not be 10 good clients. There might be one good client, but the strategy that's employed is that I evaluate the clients and always looking to replace the one that is the least good for us with a better one. So it becomes obvious that, for example, somebody may not be a good fit for you, and the relationship is maybe a little bit bumpy, or it's an unhappy relationship. You know, your clients have the ability to let their vendors go, fire their vendors. Well, this is, I believe, something that you can do as a company. You don't have to. You don't have to keep a client if it's not good for your company, if it drags down your business in general. So, for example, if your top clients are bringing the majority of your profitability to your company, which allows it to stay healthy and grow, and your bottom client, or what I call the potential client from hell, is detracting from that by taking up more of your time and not, you know, paying properly for your services, you need to replace that client and let them go. So,
and it's not just the money, it's also the draining the energy of the team and yourself. And then you are not good enough in your state of mind when you're going to work with the great client that you have. So it can actually drain that work that you're going to do for them just because you were in a bad conversation or something else.
I learned this from a client, by the way. So, for example, many years ago, I had a client, a huge, big client in the industry that I was in, doing a lot of business with them. And one day I got a phone call from their competitor, who actually was physically located in the same city as them. And the competitor said to me, I would like you to do for us what you are doing for our competitor. And I said, oh my goodness, I said, I'm very flattered by that, but I think that this might be a little conflict of interest because I'm already doing, you know, their business. And they said, oh, no, we phoned your customer and asked for permission to talk to you and ask you if we could get your company to do our business. I said, really? And they told me who it was that they were talking to. And I said, okay, well, I will call you back. I will check this out. And when I phoned my customer and said, so-and-so phoned me and wants me to do their business, and they said they talked to you about this, and my client said, yes, that's right. The reason we don't mind you doing their business is because you're our vendor, and the healthier you are, the better you are for us. So we want your business to be strong, we want you to be profitable, and we want you to be able to grow and get better at what you do, because it's only in our best interest that you are like this. And I thought, wow, that's an A-plus client. They are concerned about my well-being. They're concerned about my profitability and my state of mind and my health. And they knew it was in their best interest as well, too. So this changed my entire thinking about how to go after clients. And so that's my strategy, is that, and the reason I say, when I talk to people, the A-plus clients are looking for you. Let's face it, if they're a good company, they want the best suppliers. Well, not everyone is the best supplier, but if you are, that means they want you. And they have to find a way to get you to do their business. And when they know who you are and they find you, they will seek you out. And I think this is something that a lot of people don't realize, and they get bogged down with the less than stellar clients. There's somebody for everyone, and not everyone is for you. So be very discerning about who you take on as a client, and then always grow your business slow, manage your growth, because if you grow too fast, it's like you're going to fumble the ball and everyone's going to suffer, you and your clients. So you have to be very careful about how you grow. So the way I go about this is that I don't have staff in-house. I put together teams of people and subcontractors based on the skill sets that that particular client requires. So if you come to me and we're going to do a big project, I take a look and see right now what part can I do and what parts do I need someone else to do. And because I'm well connected with the Joomla community, I know who all the best people are out there in the Joomla sphere. And so I have a go-to list of people that if they're available and I say, hey, I've got this project, would you be available? And they let me know yes or no. And fortunately, I've always been able to get good subcontractors when I need them. The client ever came to me and said, you know, we need you to have an ongoing team, I would hire people for that particular company, and then I would wind up having some sort of staff. But to date, it's worked out great by having virtual teams. And my customers know this.
Yeah. So how, like some of my clients, when they approach me, they would like us to have maybe a team of 500 people. I don't know why, because they want to have a bigger company to work with. And I usually say, no, we're the core team in my company. And then we hire people that will supplement us. That is specific for your niche, for example, or for this particular assignment. And sometimes they feel like, oh, yeah, that feels kind of uncertain and unsure. And I think that's a culture thing. I think in some countries, it's like going with subcontractors or outsourcing parts of your project and working in teams that are not it's not a fixed team. It might more like a team that you build for a client and you do the client's assignment and then you split up your team and then you maybe create another team for another project. And I think that's a culture thing too. It's not just...
And some companies, well, they want to know who's going to be responsible.
Yeah.
If things need to be fixed, who's going to be the responsible person? So when you have a large company behind it, it's the company that's responsible. Mm-hmm. When you're a smaller vendor, then they have to have a high level of trust that you're going to, first of all, be available and that you care. And that you'll be, you will respond appropriately when they need. So I can understand why some companies want a large company behind them. But in the Joomla sphere, there's not that many Joomla specialty companies that have large amounts of people working for them. There are some, but they're not that many. And I think that, yes, so you have to find out what works for both you and for your client.
Another question is for me that are you looking for any, do you have any spots on your shortlist that are available that you would like to have some people that look at this broadcast say, do you know what, I love to work with Joe. He seems like this best guy ever to work with in a team. How would you be open-minded to have some people contact you to be on your shortlist?
Absolutely. Yes, I'm currently very much actively looking for some new clients and also for some new contractors as well, too. This is always an ongoing process. So for sure, I am available. I have some capacity available to immediately take on a good fitting customer right now.
So when you said like you have different slots for clients, do you work with project proposals or do you have like retainers, or can I buy hour by hour from you? How is your pricing points and business model?
Sure. I found that what seems to work for me is block time purchases, which is similar to a retainer. So what I have packages that are 5 hours, 15 hours, 30 hours, and they're priced by those blocks of time. So what you could do is if you have a large project and you want to control, your budget, what you could do is you could start buying, a 30-hour block of time. And then as you get to know how we work and how quickly things are done, gives you a lot of confidence in being able to maintain your budget. So in a way, it's a retainer. Because you're paying up front, and that allows me to respond immediately to your needs. So some customers know that I have a need for 10 hours a month of Joomla related or marketing related activity that Joe Sonne Marketing should do for me. And so, you know, we just have this ongoing recurring billing, and we do that amount of work for them. So that's sort of the way that I work. However, if it's say a major project that comes along, then there will be a special contract with a payment schedule. So a pre-payment and then milestone payments based on, you know, different whatever what's appropriate for the project. Yeah.
So it sounds pretty straightforward to hire you and get the quick win of actually get to know how to work with you before actually signing up for a longer agreement, both for you and your clients, so you can feel like this is a good fit.
Exactly. Yes. Like I said, it has to be win-win. And when it is, it's great for both parties, and it's the best for the customer as well, too.
So is there anything that you would like to share as a big insight on if you were today starting a business where you already have maybe a business that are an agency, maybe you haven't put Joomla as a tool in your toolbox yet, maybe you have other CMSs or other services, maybe you're really good at marketing and SEO, but you also would like to start adding Joomla to your service base. What is your best advice for that person?
Joomla has come such a long way since I've been involved with Joomla, and its capabilities have enormously improved since the very Joomla version 1 that I used all those years ago. And my suggestion is that you get to know it, and because when you find out what the capabilities are within the core Joomla system, the better you know that tool, the more you can do with it. And you could do amazing things with Joomla. I'm a big believer in using as much as the core capability of Joomla, which is inherent in the core, and only extending it with third-party extensions if needed, because so much can be done with Joomla right out of the box. The only thing preventing you from exploiting the full power of Joomla is knowledge. And the minute you understand what it can do some powerful things for you. And I think that it will be a wonderful discovery for a lot of people. I picked Joomla because I saw it to be the most capable content management system of its type. It was a great opportunity for a user to be able to have something that's not difficult to grab the concepts of and work with, and to become a very savvy publisher. And it's also powerful enough from the code point of view to hook into all kinds of other systems. We have some of the most sophisticated Joomla systems that I built have actually been intranets, interestingly enough, for companies, and they're deploying other applications within the Joomla framework inside, and they're doing amazing things with Joomla. Joomla is a display layer. It's a wrapper for all kinds of things, and I think that you will never get painted into a corner if you go with something like Joomla. It's that capable. It's not so hard to work with that you have to be a heavy developer geek. It's something that a normal person can learn to use, and yet it's powerful for developers to be able to make it do pretty much anything you need it to do.
That's a good summarization, Joe. I would say that I heard a lot of agencies saying that they do portals or intranets or other kind of login functionality to support customers or teams or employees to communicate. So I think that when you look at the numbers of the market share of Joomla, it's only for the open websites out there, but we can never see all the extension, like all the intranets and all the portals that are inside behind locked bars, if you say that.
I think the more knowledgeable that a client is about the system, the more they'll appreciate something like Joomla, because a lot of customers, they don't get knowledgeable about the web software. They just hear, oh, one is easy, or one is, simple to, or one is popular. If you're going to own a website, you need to be responsible for it. It's like owning anything else. You need to know something about it. And I think the more you know about Joomla, the more you will come to engage with it and want to bring it into your tool set. And, you find out that you don't have to struggle as hard to get it to do what you want it to do, that you have to struggle with other platforms or other systems that were never really set up, from the foundation to be able to do those kinds of things.
Totally agree with that. So we are almost on top of the hour. We had so many good conversations and tips and knowledge and insights coming from this conversation. So I'm very happy that I invited you as a guest on the show. If someone wants to contact you after the show, what is the best way possible to do that?
The best way possible is to go to joejoomla.com or joesonne.com. Both of those have contact us now buttons, and they have emails and phone numbers on them. That's the best way to get a hold of me, is through the website. And of course, it's really easy. You can always send an email to joe@joejoomla.com. That works too. So I made it really easy for people to get a hold of me.
That's really good. So I usually ask my guests in the end of the show, if you have an offer that if someone wants to contact you and hire you, do you have any offer that will be available for them?
Absolutely. So for this show, Pixpro Labs Live, if anybody has watched this program and they want to get a hold of me, all they have to do is mention Pixpro Labs Live to me, and I will give them a 5% discount off their next invoice. That would be for existing clients or new ones. So Pixpro Labs Live, just mention it to me in any of the communication, either on the phone or by the email or through the contact form on my website, and I will offer a 5% discount on the next invoice.
That's amazing, Joe. Thank you for being such a good sport and being such a good host, like a good guest on my show. I couldn't ask for more. So I think that if there is anyone looking at this replay and having questions, and they can ask questions in the comments, and you and I will go into the comments later on and maybe respond to them if possible.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for having me. This has been fun.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye for now.